All right, are we ready?
We're ready.
All right, we were probably ready before I started telling that story.
Right.
Hey everyone, Matt here from the Benvie podcast, Success Stories Unveiled, and I'm here with Gina O'Leary. Welcome, Gina.
Hi, thanks.
Thank you for coming. I have some icebreaker questions here before we get going. Don't
Okay,
keep looking. I want to know, first of all, who's your favorite twin?
Oh, I can't say.
You can have Mitch as a favorite twin. You see Mitch a lot more than me.
I feel like Mitch and I are in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
But I also see you almost as often.
Yeah, as long as I have my door open.
Yeah, it's like, 45, 55.
Hey, what do you know? That's the structure of our business. How about your favorite country song?
Oh, God. I don't really have one, I hate to tell you.
That's fair.
I'm not a country music lover, although every year at Christmas, my team at work, we make a spoof movie, and this year somebody else on my team picked the song Fancy by Walker Hayes. So I think, yeah. So that's an earworm that I can't get out of my head now, but I know every word to it.
There's a viral TikTok for that song.
Yeah. We tried to do it. It wasn't pretty.
That's not a country song.
Yeah.
He has like 8 kids, so I'm glad that he made a lot of money off of that.
Oh, good.
If you could have dinner with anybody alive or dead, who would it be?
Oh, gosh. I'd probably want to have it with a really strong woman who's, like, inspiring. Oh, gosh, I don't know. I hate being put on the spot. I'm not a good on the spot there. But, like, maybe someone like, like Condoleezza Rice, somebody who's smart and, has made positive change in the world. Oprah, maybe. Awesome. I don't know.
Do you have a favorite exercise?
I have to say, like, if I was told I could only ever do one exercise for the rest of my life, I'd probably pick swimming because I grew up swimming. I was a swimmer. But I love lifting weights,
Awesome.
Yeah. Do you mean like a specific exercise in boot camp? Or?
Doesn't matter. Specific movement.
Yeah.
Swimming.
Yeah, I love swimming, but I don't get to do it as much anymore. But, I don't think I could give up Evolve. So if you told me I could only do one thing, actually I probably would say, okay, I'm going to keep lifting weights.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Put that on the billboard.
Now that I think of it. You can swim in your bathtub.
So, how old are you? I don't even know that.
48.
Nice.
Yep.
And you have a husband?
Yeah, my husband Tim. I dragged him along to Evolve a few years ago.
Yeah. And you have 2 dogs?
Yep.
Murphy
and Sullivan.
And how old are they now?
They're 2 and 4. They're
awesome.
Ridiculous. Yep.
Yeah, and what kind of dogs are they?
Yellow labs. Yep.
Awesome.
They keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And do you know how long you've been coming to Evolve?
2016. I thought about it today. I don't have it officially on paper anywhere, but I'm sure you do. But my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, Tim's brother and his wife Michelle and Sean, brought us along. Yeah, I think it was so almost like 6 years ago. So
there's 5 family members officially that come in person, and we have some that have done virtual with us as well.
Yep. And my cousin Sophie and tons of people I work with I've brought along, and
it's a good social thing.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. We love it.
Yeah. So just for context, I mean, you told us that you're a swimmer. What's like the backstory of kind of, I would say like we have some people that had never really exercised before, or people that have an athletic background. So what's little Gina, and then transitioning into college Gina, and then career Gina to now, like as far as like lifestyle goes?
Yeah, I've always been an active person. My mom was a runner, and so she always encouraged us, my sister and I, as kids, to be active. And I can still remember to this day my grandmother taking us out in the backyard and giving us a soccer ball and saying, kick this ball against the shed, because it's very important as a girl that you know some athletic skills. You don't want to kick like a girl. So always active, ran track in elementary, just because my mom was a coach. But then I started swimming pretty young and did that until I was finishing high school and got to university. The thing about me, though, is I'm decidedly average at everything I do. I never excel at it. I'm not a competitor. Like, I get really nervous, so I hate competing. Like, I like to compete with myself, but with running and swimming, anything that involves a competition, I would get literally, like, sick to my stomach. So I just never excelled at anything from a competitive standpoint. I love to participate, but I was never, like, oh, look at that Gina, she's quite the athlete. No, that was never me.
Yeah.
But I was always active. And I think after swimming ended and I didn't have that, like, structure of someone telling me what to do, how the workouts should work, I kind of went on my own path of trying to figure out what to do. And I think like most people, I went away to university. I became a nurse, and I went to Dal in Halifax from Fredericton. And looking back now, I knew that I was in trouble when I had this outfit that I usually felt really good when I put it on. I was like, I just don't feel good in it. And I was never struggled with like being very overweight, but I guess I just never, after swimming ended, I never felt really fit. And so I knew I had to find something to kind of keep me on track. So around that time, I was graduating from nursing school, and we moved out west to Vancouver, and we'd be walking our dogs, and we'd get passed by these huge packs of runners. My husband and I, we weren't married at the time yet, but we were like, what are these people doing running? We had no concept of what was going on. But in Vancouver, it's just the weather is such that you can run year-round. So we just decided we would kind of follow them. So they finished at a running room clinic, and so we were like, oh, well, we should look into that. So we started running. And again, decidedly average at it, like ran a half marathon, then did a marathon. I've since done more than I can count, but I've never been a fast runner. I'm just a happy runner. I go out and I shuffle along. I even tried to get some coaching one time. It was a disaster. They're like, okay, now run as fast as you can for about 30 seconds. It just didn't work. So I run just because I like the way it makes me feel. And I've never really gone through a period in my life except for that little couple of years when I finished swimming and started university that I was a little bit lost as to what to do. I worked out at a big box gym, but I never really had a lot of direction and didn't really know what to do. But so Evolve kind of filled that gap for me for sure. And it's been a journey ever since.
Yeah, so I guess you were 43 when you joined then.
Yeah.
That was 5 years ago.
Yeah, or 42 and a bit, 6 years ago, yeah.
And was it just the pressure from the family, or was there a specific reason where you're like, now's the time that I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I think Michelle and Sean had just been bragging you guys up for so long, and because I belonged to a big gym, I was like, well, I don't need to go somewhere to lift weights. I can do that on my own. But I think the piece was like being given a program and just being guided through it. And Michelle and I tend to like the same thing, so I think it was just that critical mass of. She told me enough times that I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I didn't ever regret it or look back for sure. So she definitely has that award in my mind of having brought me here. And yeah, I'm definitely the fittest I've ever been in the last several years now. And I think it's all because of Evolve, yeah. Well, obviously in all of your efforts. So when you're doing a gym or when you're part of a gym for 6 years, you're obviously not going to be on the ball for 6 years in a row. I mean, that's impossible. We're all going to have our natural ups and downs. And recently, I would say the Game Changer Challenge that we did, you had some pretty astounding results. What would you say? I mean, that's kind of what I want to focus on for some things because it was pretty dramatic. And for somebody who I've known for as long, I was like, wow, this is cool. What changed for the start of that challenge that gave you that extra little push? Because you're always, again, you've been a fit person your entire life, but you kind of took it to the next level, I would say. Yeah. I love a challenge, and I've done lots of your challenges. But what I find happens is I'm super committed, and then I slide back a little bit, like all within a kind of like 10-pound radius. Like it's nothing crazy, but I just have never found that sweet spot of being able to do things. And something about the Game Changer, I think it was a combination of being paired up with a personal coach. And I guess, they say that when you're ready to hear the message, you hear it. And it was just all about consistency and manageable habits that you can keep for life. And so I decided very mindfully when I started that challenge that I wasn't going to commit to anything that I didn't see myself being able to do for many years. And that's all your voice in my head going,
oh, yes,
okay,
thank you.
I'm not going to add anything unless I can tell myself I could do this for, like I was joking saying until I'm 90. I probably couldn't, but maybe I could. So every habit I made sure before I added another one that I'm like, no, is this one definitely there? And is it doable? And if it was, then I added another one. So I think it was the combination of just having heard your message lots of times and just wanting to finally see, and it probably has something to do with my age too, because I'm 48, and everyone, those big milestone birthdays, they come up and people are like, oh, I want to do this by the time I'm this age or whatever. So I had that script in my head too of being like, do you really want to be doing this until you're 60 or 70? Like, lose a few pounds, gain a few pounds, lose a few pounds. And my other thing was that I have always felt like a really fit person, but I would look in the mirror and I was like, yeah, I'm happy with the way I look, but I don't feel like I look on the outside like I feel on the inside. So I was anxious to see how I could change the way my body looked a little bit. Again, not a huge amount. I've always been very happy and confident with my own self, but I was interested to see what was possible. And with you guys having all those metrics like the in-body and, all the ways to kind of evaluate, or am I improving? Like, how much weight am I lifting? Can I do a chin-up? Can I, like, all these kind of metrics to walk me along the path. It was helpful.
Yeah, I have an email coming, or maybe it was this morning, just a list of non-scale victories again,
yeah.
just to remind people of the other ways that we can see success. Because people just have that one thing in mind, and they tend to ignore all the other things that are going really well, right? So,
exactly.
All right, let's dig in a little bit here, because I know you have some things prepared, which is great. I'm going to ask you some questions, and then if I miss anything that you've got there, then we can go over it. But I think this is going to be really great for everyone listening. First things first, you have a great supportive husband, which helps, so that's part of your answer probably for this. But what are your top tips for staying motivated, staying disciplined, staying accountable?
Yeah. Number one, far and away, no doubt, journaling. I have been a person that keeps a journal. I've kept one every year since 2001. So that's 20 years now. I can't believe it. It was a gift from the girl when I left nursing school and drove out to Vancouver. She and I shared a drive out west. And I had been talking for my whole nursing school 3 years about wanting to do a triathlon. I finally did one 2 years ago. But she got me a journal, and inside it she wrote, "This is for your journey to triathlon." And something about that journal, like just being able to write down what I did every day was really like affirming. And so for 20 years, I have written down what I've done for exercise every single day, usually the weather, usually something about how I feel. But what the game changer did for me was flip that on its head, because I realized the exercise is the easy part for me. I'm going to do it. I've never missed a day unless I'm sick. I love exercise. It's not hard for me. But flipping to looking at what I'm eating every day and what my habits are that I want to achieve every day and what my gratitude is every day, those things were really big game changers for me. But writing it down, and I have it at my bedside. It's just a habit. It's ingrained. It's never going to change because I've done it for 20 years now. But every night before I go to bed, I just look and see, did I achieve what I had set out for the day, and I write it down.
Okay, so a follow-up question then. What's the strategy to overcome a day that the journal didn't turn out well?
So I think I just have it in my head, and this is probably from you guys too, never let yourself have 2 bad days in a row. I mean, there's always exceptions, like if you're sick or if you're grieving or if there's something terrible in your life that's happening, that's okay. You just be gentle with yourself, and that's an exception, right? But I think just knowing that tomorrow's a new day, it's a fresh page, it's figuratively and literally.
Oh, I like that.
You just flip the page, and in some ways, if I don't get all my little check marks and I have a crappy meal, it almost motivates me more to want the next page to be right back on track. So
yeah. Oh, man, that's cool. What about the pages where it's like this? The people are listening, you can't hear it, and you can see both pages at the same time. Got to make sure one's good.
Right? Yeah, one has to be good. I always have mine flipped to one page, but you're right, I could leave it open. It's just my bedside table is pretty small.
Okay, I live, and I talk about this a lot in my emails, like I have had, former binge eater and yo-yoer turned now, I have nutrition principles. So those are my own personal ones, and everybody should find their own. But as far as nutrition goes, like what are some things that have helped you be successful with, general nutrition, like meal prep related things, like grocery shopping, anything that has stood out that has been really successful for you? Yep.
A couple things. Number one was the calorie reality check, I call it. I've kind of likened it to Tim always jokes that I spend more money than I make. But sometimes it's good to check and see, okay, how much money is in my bank account and what does this cost? So I think of that when I think of food, because it's really easy to go about your day thinking, oh yeah, this is fine, but it all adds up. So when I first started the Game Changer, I did probably a couple weeks of like just really super honest, like what's in this, like how many calories are actually in this, and what you guys recommended. I weighed, I didn't just measure, and I really got a good sense of, okay, if I really want to, get to my ideal weight in my mind anyway, I'm going to have to make some decisions here. So the calorie reality check was a big one. I didn't like prolong it very long. I just kind of did it until I got a good sense. I didn't want it to become like an obsession, but I think an awareness is important.
Yeah.
I don't eat meat, so focusing on how I was going to get my protein at every meal was huge for me, and deciding after 20 years that I'm going to like cottage cheese. I tried it every year, and every year I'm like, nope. And this year was the year I'm like, nope, I got to grow up and I got to eat cottage cheese. So just finding sources of protein that I like, using a protein shake every day just as a way to supplement. And then the big one for me is I have always labeled myself someone who hates to cook. And I just decided, I don't know if it's my age or what, but I just got to grow up and suck it up and take responsibility for my own intake. And so I made a conscious choice at the beginning of the Game Changer that I was going to take any and all tips for cooking, for meal prep, whatever, even though I hated those words. I was like, ew, ew, ew. And meal planning. So every Sunday, I carve out a couple hours max, and I make a plan for the week, and I cook a few things. And at first, because of COVID, it was kind of cool that people were doing things virtually. And so my cousin Sophie, who also comes here, she and I would get on FaceTime and meal prep together. And so it made it kind of fun, and we would laugh and like make mistakes together or whatever. And she's a dietitian, so she would, give me tips too. But yeah, we would cook together, and then we'd end up after socializing for an hour with something that we could eat for a few days. So that's been huge. And actually last night I helped a coworker that recently joined Evolve meal prep a meal. And she had literally never cut a piece of garlic in her life, and I coached her through it, and I'm like, look at me, I'm actually a good cook. It was a big moment for me and her. I was like, wow, I've come a long way in the last year.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I would be taking notes right now because I want to share this, because why not meal prep on FaceTime with friends and family? And that's a great way to, because and I would label myself as somebody who doesn't have time to meal prep, and that's, and a lot of my business coaching and stuff like that is you are what you tell yourself you are, and you had told yourself you weren't somebody who likes to cook, but if you just tell yourself to become that person, I am somebody who likes to cook, and if you're trying to give up alcohol, I'm somebody who doesn't drink, right? And you become that identity. So, we're putting that in the next challenge for sure. FaceTime, you have to FaceTime the meal prep.
Or Zoom if you have more than one. Like at one point there was like 3 of us who were doing it together, and I think some people in the Game Changer did it together.
Yeah.
And
Love
it's been a great, even just the motivation to go out and buy the ingredients, because you pick whatever you're going to make, right? Then you have to go buy them, and you're not really going to let them sit in your fridge and not make the coconut curry ramen that you really decide you want.
Cool. Yeah. Love it. All right.
Can I just say one more thing about nutrition? Because this might be the big one for me and Tim. We love to eat out. And so Mitch last summer made a suggestion that has stuck. He said, why don't you guys just decide if you're going to eat, you have to walk there. And so because we live in the city, we're lucky that we can do that. But we just made a commitment that on the weekends, if we're going out to eat, we walk there. So it's kind of this little, it's a tiny trade-off, but because balance is kind of the theme of what I've decided to adopt, we try not to have 2 like restaurant meals in a row. Like we never go out for supper and then brunch anymore, or we try not to have 2 big restaurant meals at night in a row. But at least if we do it, we walk there, and it feels like kind of a good trade-off. So it's like a balance thing.
That is a cool thing, and that's sort of what they talk about in Atomic Habits a little bit, where it's like you have this habit that might not progress you to your goals, but you've sandwiched it on top of a healthy habit on each side by walking there and walking home.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. So many people, they get overwhelmed. We do these challenges, and it's a lot of info at the start, especially if you're a beginner. So if somebody was overwhelmed and struggling to get started, what would be your advice for them?
Honestly, I think reading Atomic Habits, I read that early on in the challenge, and that totally flipped a switch in my brain from, I think before, I thought of either myself or people in my life who had the habit of like writing things down or writing goals down as being really anal or like obsessive compulsive, it totally changed my mindset to like, you're taking something out of your brain and putting it on paper and relieving your brain of having to like juggle all this stuff. So now I feel like writing things down is like a freeing thing, and so my journaling has become even more important to me. So I think reading that book is key in helping you kind of get the right mindset, but just starting small and committing to not adding something until you're sure it's stuck. As frustrating as that can be, because it can feel like it's taking forever, but being consistent with one thing that's going to stick is way better than being consistent for a couple of weeks with 5 things that aren't going to stick, you know. So
I think that was on my email today.
Yeah, I get so much of what's in my head from you. I don't.
Well, I steal it from Atomic Habits and from all the other books.
So yeah, it's just that chip away, start small, and pick things that like you almost know 80 to 90% you can succeed, because it's such a good feeling when you can check that little box the next day and feel like, oh, I did that.
Yeah,
I can do that again.
And would you agree that 21 days is not necessarily how long it takes to form a habit?
Oh, God, no. No.
It's different for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone, and it depends how it makes you feel, too. Like, if the habit you're trying to form is really challenging, it's probably going to take a long time, and you probably need to check and make sure it's one that you really need.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Awesome. That's great advice. What do you love about Evolve?
Oh, so many things.
It's not an Evolve-based show, because I'm going to interview people that are not Evolve. But for those that are interested in Evolve, what would you say about coming here?
I love that you come and you immediately feel welcomed, and you don't really have to think. You just are told what to do in a very kind way. And I love I've kind of, when I first started, for at least a year or maybe even 2, I was an after-work exerciser. Like, I would come at 5:30, 5:45, something like that. And Alan was my coach. But then Michelle convinced me. She convinces me to do all the good things in my life. She convinced me to switch to mornings. And that was rough for a couple months. It was hard. But
I don't remember that transition for you.
Yeah. I love coming and starting my day knowing that nobody can take that away from me. It's done. It's in the bank. And it's like I don't have to worry about exercise for the rest of the day. It's done. And honestly, starting the day with like people that have become friends, because it's like, as an adult, it's hard to make friends and it's hard to find people who have common interests. So knowing that the people at Evolve are all kind of interested in making themselves better, and that the people who are training you really are interested in your personal improvement, and they actually care about you. Like, I think you and Mitch have become some of my, closest friends. So it's really nice.
Well, you guys see us a lot. And
that's
the thing.
I know. We see you more than we see our family.
Yeah, and that's the reality of the gym and the community aspect of a gym.
Yeah, it's so nice. And I love the fact that there's always new people coming in, and I love seeing people make those discoveries about themselves. Like, you see new people come and they look around the room and they feel like people are watching them, and in reality, it's not. Nobody's watching you. But I do notice when people make big improvements, and I feel so happy for them. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad. Yeah. I've dragged people from work who are now just like, I'm just like bursting with pride when I see them working out and to see how healthy they've become. It makes me so happy. Yeah,
that's actually a good point. I get a lot of texts from clients who have become friends over the years who text me about people who's like, man, they joined like last year and they're doing this now and they're doing that now, and they know each other to say hi, but they haven't become close. But it's really cute.
It's really neat to watch people.
Awesome. Okay, you've got some good stuff that I can see out of the corner of my eye. So this is my chance to let you talk about anything that we didn't see, because I think I see sleep on there, which I'd love to talk about sleep. So let's, in any random order, the stuff that you think is important to share, because a lot of people listening to the podcast will be people at various points in their journey, and any tip, like, I talk about my business coaching group. It's everything that we talk about when we meet is not relevant, but if I get 1 or 2 things, then that's worth it, right?
Yeah. Okay, just random, the random ones are, my goal is always to be the person working the hardest in a boot camp room. So whenever I come to work out, I work out like it's my last workout, and I love that feeling. And that, I've been inspired by so many people that work out here, but specifically Michelle, my sister-in-law, and Sophie, my cousin, they never half-ass a workout, and I love that about them. But Leanne, the first woman I met, I think that came here. Oh my God! So people like that really inspire me, and I want to be working really hard when I'm in the room and take advantage of every drop of sweat I can get out. But that being said, I've always worked out hard, but I think the challenge really taught me how important walking is. And so I'm lucky that I live in the city and I can walk to work, but Tim and I set a goal during the challenge that we would try to get 15,000 steps a day. And on the weekends, we would try to do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday combo and get 60,000 steps those 3 days of the weekend.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a part of the way I've been able to maintain, because I feel like walking is it's so good for you, and I think it's so underrated. Everyone wants to run or
I agree.
do something so much more intense, but running has been huge for me, or walking has been huge for me.
And to help that, you'd probably recommend having dogs?
No, we do all of our walking without the dogs. We don't really count the dogs with the walks with the dogs, because they really are just sniffed.
Right.
But maybe one day they'll be good enough to walk. The other thing about exercise is that I've slowly morphed, having been a member here, into less and less cardio. And that's something that I think people need to hear that message more and more. And because of you, because I've been a runner for 20 years, but kind of a very, very average runner, I've kind of tried to make the runs that I do, I probably do 2 a week, but I've tried to make them more challenging. So I remember Mitch saying one day, running is so bad for people. They just go out and shuffle for an hour. And I'm like, yeah, that's basically me. So I decided this year that I would make my runs more challenging. So find a hill, keep it under 30 to 40 minutes max, or try to run each kilometer faster than the last. And I'm proud to say, when I ran the Blue Nose this year, I ran a PB by a landslide.
Wow.
I ran a 10K without training, except for the runs that I've been doing all year, a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
And I blew my PB out of the water by 8 minutes.
Amazing.
So
that happens a lot to people that start weight training and don't realize how great it is for
and then
running.
Don't run as much. I used to run 5 days a week to train for a race.
Purposeful running. Right? Yeah.
So I just run for speed and short distance now. So
awesome.
Those are all my exercise tips, I think.
Yeah.
The mindset tips, in addition to the habits and the journaling, meditation's been huge for me. I did my yoga teacher training probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I developed a practice then, but I kind of let it go a bit. And then I discovered Headspace, which is an app that you can find. And I don't know, something about it just clicked for me, and it has a streak option, and I don't know, there's something about me that likes to see the streak going, and so I refuse to let it die. So even if it just means, after reading Atomic Habits, you don't have to be perfect, you just have to keep trying. So even if I only have 3 minutes, I do 3 minutes. I usually average about 10 minutes, but it's something so small that I think it's made a big difference in my mindset and my ability to kind of center myself and be calm. And then, I guess sleep is the last thing. Sleep's always been easy for me. I've always been a person who needs my sleep, and so it's just kind of non-negotiable for me. We had our work Christmas party on Friday night, and I had to leave at 9:30 because I'm I have to be in bed by 10 on a Friday night. It's just not going to work if I don't. So just putting that as a priority, and knowing that, at least if I get into bed, whether I sleep or not, I'm there, I made the effort, and I know my life is going to feel better the next day if I get my sleep. So, again, I don't have kids that wake me up in the middle of the night. I do have dogs that don't let me sleep sometimes, but those are my big, I think,